Have you ever, like, really sat down and tried to imagine who you'd be without your memories?
I mean, it's kind of a mind-blowing thought, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, every experience, every relationship, everything you've ever learned, it's all kind of wrapped up in this crazy tapestry of memory.
Yeah, and it makes you, you.
Exactly. It's like the thread of your entire life.
It's so true. And it's not just about like remembering the past either.
Right.
Your memories are actually the engine of your potential for the future, They shape how you learn and how you adapt, which is like more important than ever these days with the world changing so fast.
So true. And that's what makes this deep dive we're doing today so fascinating. You've shared some amazing material that really digs into this whole idea of the power of memory and how we can unlock more of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this with you.
Me too. So our mission today is to pull out the key insights from all of this and really give you some practical techniques that you can use to boost both your memory and your focus.
Absolutely. We want to go beyond just like understanding how memory works in theory and actually give you actionable strategies that can make a real difference in your daily life.
Exactly. Now, I know some of you out there might be thinking, well, I've got Google, I've got all this tech at my fingertips, so do I really need to worry about having a sharp memory anymore?
That's a really common question, especially in this day and age when we're bombarded with information from all sides.
Right.
And it is true, having access to tons of data is incredibly helpful, but it's not a replacement for actually knowing and understanding things deeply. Think of it this way. Google can give you data, but your memory gives you understanding.
Okay.
That ability to connect ideas and see the bigger picture. And that's something no search engine can do for you.
Right, and think about how much more confident you feel when you just know something.
Yes.
You can recall facts, insights, stories, whatever, in a conversation without having to, stop and look it up on your phone.
Exactly. It saves so much time and honestly can prevent some pretty embarrassing moments.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So yeah, memory, focus, learning, these aren't just fixed traits you're born with. They're skills. And like any skill, you can develop and improve them with the right strategies and techniques.
Okay, so one of the first things that really jumped out at me from all the material you shared is the power of your own beliefs about your memory.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one.
And it sounds like that's a pretty fundamental place to start.
It really is. Believing that you have a bad memory can be so incredibly limiting. It actually can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if you're already convinced you're not going to remember something, you're probably right.
It's like you're setting yourself up for failure before you even start.
Exactly. One of the sources pointed out this interesting statistic. 80% of change actually comes from the desire to change.
Really?
The why behind it, and only 20% comes from the how-to. So understanding your motivations for wanting to improve your memory, that's crucial. Why is this important to you? What are you hoping to achieve? Once you've got that clear, you're much more likely to stick with it.
That makes total sense. If you're not truly invested, the techniques probably aren't going to have much staying power.
Nope. And it's not just about those self-assessments either, Sometimes these negative beliefs are actually imposed on us by others.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like maybe a teacher telling you have a weak memory when you were a kid. Those things can stick with you.
Yeah.
It's so important to question those pronouncements, to ask yourself, is this belief actually true? Is it 100% certain?
I love that. We often carry these labels around without ever really examining if they're even accurate.
Exactly. And once you start challenging those beliefs, it can unlock so much potential energy and open up possibilities you never even considered.
So, how can we start to shift those negative beliefs? What's the practical takeaway here?
The key is to consciously affirm and embody new, more positive beliefs about your memory and your focus every single day.
Okay.
Make them part of your identity. Tell yourself a different story.
Okay, so give us some examples of some powerful beliefs that we could start adopting.
Sure. One that really stood out to me was this idea of, I was born with an extraordinary ability to focus.
Oh, I like that.
Notice how it frames focus as a skill, not a talent, It takes the pressure off feeling like you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, it's about developing that skill, not assuming you're just wired a certain way.
Right. Another powerful one is, my memory is limitless. This one encourages a real shift in your thinking about your brain's capacity to store information.
Okay.
Think about it. You effortlessly recall countless details in conversations, names, faces, events.
True.
That level of recall is incredibly complex. It rivals the most sophisticated computer systems out there.
It's a good analogy because when you put it like that, it really does highlight how much our brains are capable of.
Right. And then there's the belief that there are no failures, only results. This one is so powerful because it helps you reframe those setbacks.
Yeah.
Instead of getting discouraged, you see them as learning opportunities. You analyze what happened and you adjust your approach. It's all about cultivating that growth mindset.
I love that. And finally, embracing the belief that no one knows everything. This one keeps you curious and open to different perspectives, right?
Absolutely. It fosters a sense of continuous learning. So it seems like step one here is really about getting your mental house in order, challenging those limiting beliefs, and setting a positive foundation for yourself.
I love it. Okay, so we've tackled beliefs. Now, what about actually focusing our attention in the present moment?
Yeah, that's another critical piece of the puzzle.
It's tough these days with so many distractions all around us.
It really is like our minds are constantly racing, jumping from one thing to the next.
Exactly, but like memory, focus is a skill.
Yeah.
It requires training and conscious effort to be truly present in the current moment.
It does. And one of the sources actually discussed several strategies to help us enhance our focus.
Oh, good.
One of the first ones that caught my eye was controlling your inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that constant internal dialogue that's always running in the
Oh
background?
my gosh, yes. That running commentary that never shuts up.
I know. It can have a huge impact on our concentration.
It really can.
But the good news is we can learn to manage it.
Okay.
It's about becoming aware of that voice and making a conscious choice to offer ourselves guidance instead of like negative or distracting thoughts.
So instead of listening to the voices that are replaying that argument you had or that to-do list that's stressing you.
Exactly. You got to recognize that those thoughts aren't facts, they're just thoughts. And we have the power to change them.
So it's about becoming the editor of our own internal monologue.
Yes.
Love it. Another strategy that came up was avoiding multitasking.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Isn't it?
I'm so guilty of that. But the research is clear. When we multitask, our brains are rapidly switching focus, and that actually makes us less efficient.
Really?
Yeah, according to neuroscience, multitasking slows us down by as much as 50%, and it increases our errors by a similar amount.
Wow, 50%.
It's huge. So instead of dividing your attention, try to really focus on one task at a time. You'll produce better work and be much more efficient in the long run.
So counterintuitive as it may seem, focusing on one thing at a time actually helps you get more done.
Exactly. Quality over quantity, right?
Absolutely. And then there's the importance of setting clear goals.
Yeah.
Like when you know what you're aiming for, it's much easier to stay focused and avoid
I
distraction.
think that makes sense. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Exactly. Having a clear purpose acts like a magnet for your attention.
Yes.
It helps you prioritize and filter out all the noise. And goal-driven learning, it really enhances your attention, your understanding, and your recall.
It does. When you have a specific objective in mind, your brain is just naturally more engaged.
Exactly. Okay, the sources also mentioned managing worry.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
How does that play into focus?
Well, when we get caught up in those unproductive what-if questions, you know, what if I lose my job? What if I fail this test? It creates anxiety and it pulls our focus away from the present moment. So the key here is to shift to more action-oriented questions like, instead of what if I lose my job, ask yourself, what will I do if I lose my job?
Okay, yeah.
It helps you direct your mental energy towards finding solutions, and it gives you a sense of control. You're actively problem solving instead of passively worrying.
I like that. It's about channeling that energy into something productive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about beliefs and staying present. Let's move on to some of the more specific memory techniques.
Yes, please.
One of the recurring themes in the material you shared was the power of imagination and association.
Oh, that's a fascinating one.
So think of your mind as an internal movie screen.
Okay.
Your brain is actually wired to convert words and ideas into images and sensory experiences.
So our brains prefer pictures over words.
Exactly. And research has actually shown that recall is significantly better when information is paired with an image. One study found that after 3 days, people only remembered about 10% of information they had just heard.
Wow, that's pretty low.
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah. But when an image was added, recall jumped to 65%.
That's a huge difference.
It is. And that's where a technique called the See, Exaggerate, Move rule comes in. Sometimes it's also called Sense, Exaggerate, Act. It's all about creating more memorable mental images.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
All right, so first you've got see, or sense. You want to engage as many of your senses as possible when you're creating a mental image.
Okay.
So let's say you're trying to remember the word horse. Don't just see the word in your mind. Imagine an actual horse. Picture its color, its size, feel its coat, smell the hay, hear the sound of its hooves. The more sensory details you add, the more real and memorable that image becomes.
So you're creating a full immersive experience in your mind.
Exactly. Next is exaggerate.
Okay.
Make your images bigger or smaller than life, or just plain weird.
Okay.
A strawberry the size of a house is going to be way more memorable than a regular-sized strawberry.
That's true.
Don't be afraid to let your imagination run wild here. The more unusual the image, the better it will stick in your memory.
I like it. Make it stand out.
And finally, move or act. You want to make those images dynamic.
Okay.
A running horse is more memorable than a static one.
True.
Have the objects in your mental scene interact, move around, do things, have fun with it. The more engaging your mental movie, the better your recall will be.
So it's all about creating these vivid, over-the-top mental scenes that really capture your attention.
Exactly. Now let's try a quick example. Imagine you're learning some foreign language words. The Spanish word for sun is sol. The Italian word for cat is gatto. And the French word for hand is main.
All right, so how would I use the see, exaggerate, move rule to remember those?
Well, for sol, imagine yourself in a field of sunflowers, soaking up the sun, and the sun itself is singing the note sol from the musical scale.
Okay.
And it's juggling fiery musical notes for you.
I love it.
Engage your senses. Feel the warmth, see the bright yellow, hear the sound. Exaggerate the size of the sunflowers. Make the sun actively juggle those notes.
That's much more memorable than just the word sol.
Right, okay. For gatto, imagine a giant fluffy cat wearing tiny little Italian shoes.
Okay.
It's walking towards you saying ciao in a really thick Italian accent.
I'm picturing it.
Feel the softness of its fur, hear its meow, exaggerate its size, maybe have it wave or tip its hat.
That's funny. I won't forget gatto now.
See? And for Maine, imagine your Uncle Maine, or just some memorable guy named Maine, trying to catch a giant raindrop in his hand. Like a raindrop the size of a watermelon.
Oh.
See that size difference. Feel the wetness. Have him struggle with the weight of it.
These are great.
Right. It really brings those words to life.
It does.
You can use this for anything, really.
Like what?
Remembering names of countries and capitals.
Oh, yeah.
Canberra, Australia. Picture a kangaroo with a giant can on its head jumping over the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Canberra. Oh, that's good.
It works, right?
It does.
The key is just to make those brief, consistent links. Take a few seconds each time to create that vivid association, and it'll stick in your memory so much better.
Okay, so now we're turning information into these like memorable mental movies.
Yeah.
But then how do we actually organize and store all these images in our long-term memory?
Great question. That's where the Memory Palace comes in.
Memory Palace.
Yeah, or it's also known as the journey method. Once you've converted information into these mental images, the next step is to create a system for storing and retrieving them.
Okay.
And the journey method provides that structure.
How does it work?
Basically, you create a mental journey using a familiar location. It could be your house, your car, your walk to work, anywhere you know really well. The key is to establish a consistent route through this location, identifying specific landmarks or points along the way.
So you're basically creating a mental map of a place you already know.
Exactly. And then as you encounter new information you want to remember, you associate each piece with one of those specific locations along your journey. Again, using vivid, exaggerated, active imagery.
Okay, I'm following.
So let's say you want to remember a list of like 10 superfoods,
All right.
and we'll use your car as the journey.
Okay.
So first stop, the hood of your car.
Uh-huh.
Picture a giant carrot, like
Yeah.
as big as the hood itself, with bright orange juice dripping down the front.
A giant juicy carrot. Okay, got it.
That's your first superfood. Then move to the windshield. Imagine the windshield is completely covered in blueberries, but you can barely see out.
Yeah.
Feel the stickiness, see that deep blue color.
Blueberries all over the windshield. I like it.
Next, the driver's side door.
Okay.
Picture the entire door is made of a giant, leafy piece of kale.
A kale door. Makes sense.
Right. Feel its texture, see the vibrant green. Then driver's seat overflowing with bright red strawberries.
Okay, strawberries in the driver's seat.
Smell the sweetness, feel the juiciness. Moving on to the dashboard. Imagine a huge avocado split open right there on the dashboard with its creamy flesh glistening.
Okay, avocado dashboard.
Passenger seat. Picture a giant salmon fillet sitting upright, maybe even wearing a little seatbelt.
A salmon wearing a seatbelt. Okay, that's funny.
See that pink color? Imagine the smell of the ocean.
Salmon in the passenger seat.
Okay, back seat, piled high with turmeric root. Imagine that earthy smell, that bright yellow color. Then, the exhaust pipe.
Okay.
Broccoli and eggplant growing out of it like some crazy vegetable blooms. See the shapes, the colors?
Broccoli and eggplant exhaust, that's definitely memorable.
And finally, the trunk, overflowing with walnuts, cracking open, spilling out.
Okay, walnuts in the trunk. Got it. So I've got my 10 superfoods scattered around my mental car. How does this actually help me remember them later?
Okay, so the principle here is that your long-term memory, like your knowledge of your car, acts like a bag. Short-term information, like that list of superfoods, is like water in a sieve.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
It's hard to hold on to. But by linking that short-term information to the familiar structure of your long-term memory, you're basically putting little bags within the sieve,
Ah, okay.
making it much easier to retain the information. Your car becomes a framework with 10 specific locations, each holding a memorable image that represents a superfood.
It's such a clever analogy.
To recall the list, you just take a mental walk through your car, and each location triggers the image and thus the superfood.
So long-term memory provides the structure, and the vivid associations act as the hooks.
Precisely. Now, another system you can use is called peg words.
Peg words.
Yeah, these are 10 rhyming words linked to the numbers 1 through 10.
Okay.
1 is sun, 2 is shoe, 3 is tree, 4 is door, 5 is hive, 6 is sticks, 7 is heaven, 8 is gate, 9 is wine, 10 is hen.
Okay, I see the pattern. So how do I actually use those?
Just like with the journey method, you use the see, exaggerate, move rule to create vivid links between the peg word and the new information.
Okay, so give me an example.
Okay, let's say you want to remember Tony Robbins' 10 power emotions.
Right.
1 sun, love and warmth.
Okay.
Imagine feeling the intense warmth of the sun, and that warmth is pure love radiating all around you. Feel the heat, see the golden light.
I got it.
2 shoe, appreciation and gratitude. Picture your favorite pair of shoes filled to the brim with all the things you're grateful for, like little hearts representing loved ones, maybe miniature diplomas for achievements.
I love it.
3 tree, curiosity. Envision a really curious person peering out from behind a tree, their eyes wide with wonder as they're trying to see something hidden in the branches.
It's cute.
4 door, excitement and passion. Imagine yourself bursting through a door with incredible energy, like confetti flying everywhere, a huge smile on your face.
I see.
Feel that thrill of passion. 5 hive, determination. Picture a busy beehive with all these determined bees working away, buzzing with focused energy, collecting nectar.
Okay, I get it.
6 sticks, flexibility.
All right.
Visualize a bunch of sticks bending and swaying in the wind, showing incredible flexibility without breaking, adapting to the forces around.
Okay, I see it.
7 heaven.
Have you ever,
Confidence.
like, really
Imagine
sat
yourself
down,
standing
tried to
confidently on a
imagine
cloud,
being
reaching for
without
this
memories?
bright light, feeling completely
it's
self-assured.
kind of a mind-blowing thought, isn't it?
It really is. I
Cheerfulness.
mean, every experience, every
Picture a cheerful
relationship,
person
everything
skipping
you've
through a
ever
guardy
learned,
gate,
it's all
humming a
kind of
tune,
wrapped up in this
radiating
crazy
positive energy.
tapestry of memory.
9
Yeah.
wine,
And it
vitality.
makes you,
Imagine a glass
Exactly.
of rich red
It's like
wine
the
swirling
thread
with
of
vibrant
your entire
energy,
life.
representing your own
It's
inner
so
vitality.
true, and it's not
and
just
life
about
force.
like remembering
Feel
the
that
past
invigorating
either.
sensation.
Your memories
10
are
hen,
actually the
contribution.
engine of your
Picture a
potential
hen
for the
laying
future,
golden
you know?
eggs,
They shape how
symbolizing
you
all the
learn
valuable
and how
things you
adapt,
contribute to the
which is
world.
like more important than ever.
So the more
these days,
vividly you
with the
imagine
world
and
changing
feel
so
those
fast.
associations,
So true.
the stronger
And
that's
those
what makes
connections
this
will
deep
become,
dive we're doing today
leading to
so
faster and easier
fascinating. You've
recall.
shared some
Those are really
amazing
helpful.
material that
And
really
one thing
digs
that a lot
into
of
this whole
people struggle
idea
with is
of power of
remembering
memory
names.
and how we
Oh,
can
yeah,
unlock
that's a
more.
classic.
Yeah,
The
I'm
sources
excited
actually
to
have some
dive
really
into
good
this
advice
with
for
you.
me too.
Oh, good. Let's
So
hear
our
it.
mission today is
Okay.
to pull out the key
So,
insights from all
the
of
key
this
here
and
is
really
a
give you some
three-step
practical
strategy.
techniques that you can use
Focus,
to boost
mental
both your
image,
memory
and
your focus.
consistent use. Absolutely.
Break
We
down
want to go
focus.
beyond just
So first,
like
focus.
understanding how memory
When
works
you're introduced
in
to
theory and
someone,
actually give you
really make an
actionable
effort to
strategies
hear
that
their
can make a
name.
real difference.
People
in your
often
daily life.
mumble or
Exactly.
we're so busy
Now, I
thinking
know
about
some
what
of
we're
you
gonna
out
say
there might
next
be thinking,
that
well,
we
I've
don't
got
really pay
Google,
attention.
I've got all
Yeah,
this tech
that's
at my
true.
fingertips.
If you didn't
So,
catch it,
do I
don't be
really
afraid
need to
ask
worry
them
about
to
having a
repeat
sharp
it,
memory?
Or if it's an
That's a
unusual
really
name,
common
ask them to
question,
spell it.
especially in this day and
Show that
age
you're
when we're
genuinely
bombarded with
interested.
That makes the other
information
person
from
feel good,
all
too.
sides.
Exactly.
And it is
boosts
true,
your
having
social
access to
intelligence.
Okay, so
tons of
focus.
data is
What's next?
incredibly helpful.
Mental image. image.
But it's not a
Just
replacement
hearing a
for
name
actually
usually
knowing
isn't
and
enough.
understanding
You
things
need to create a visual
Think of
link
it this
to make
way.
it stick.
Google can
Okay.
Some
give
names
you
lend
data,
themselves to images.
but your
Naturally,
memory
rose,
gives you
bird,
understanding.
forest,
Okay.
you know,
those
that
kinds of
ability
Well,
to
But for
connect
others,
ideas
you might
and see
need
the
to
bigger
get a little more
picture.
creative. And that's something no search
Try to
engine can do for
associate the
you.
name
Right,
with
and think about
something
how much more
meaningful,
confident
or
you
even
feel
just
when you just
a
know
silly
something.
image.
Yes.
Okay,
You
so
could
like
recall
if you meet someone
facts,
in Baker,
insights, stories,
you could picture
whatever,
them holding a
in
giant
a
loaf of
conversation,
bread
Exactly.
without having to
The more
like,
unique the
stop
image,
and look
the
it up on
better.
your phone. I like it.
Exactly.
Okay, so
it saves so
focus,
much time.
create a
and
mental
honestly
image,
can
and
prevent
then
some
what?
pretty embarrassing
Consistent
Oh, yeah, totally.
use.
So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I mean, names are
Memory, focus,
retained
learning,
through these aren't just like
So
use their name again shortly after you're introduced. They're skills. Ask about its meaning or origin, develop and improve them with the right. The more you actively use the name,
Okay,
the
so
less you'll
one
have
of
to
the
rely
first
on
things that
active
really jumped
recall,
out at me from
and the more it will become
all the
stored in
material
your
you
long-term
shared
memory.
I love
is
it. Okay, so that's
the
remembering
power of
names.
your own beliefs
What about
about your
remembering
memory?
written
Oh,
information?
yeah,
like
that's a
key
huge
points
one.
from
And it
a
sounds like that's a pretty
presentation
fundamental
or a
place to
quote
start.
You want to be able
It
to recall.
really
Yeah,
is.
that's another
You
common
know,
challenge.
Believing that you
Especially
have
in
a bad
professional
memory
settings
can
or
be
when you're studying.
So
Absolutely.
incredibly
It's
limiting.
so valuable to be
actually
able
can
to
become a
recall that
self-fulfilling
information
prophecy. Like, if
without
you're already
having to
convinced
rely
you're
on
not
notes.
going to remember
It is.
something, you're
One of the
probably
sources
right.
used a
It's like you're
quote
setting
about
yourself up for
success
failure before you even
attributed
start.
to
Exactly.
Ralph Waldo
One of the
Emerson
sources
as an
pointed out this
example.
interesting
yeah.
It was
statistic.
a pretty long quote.
80%
It was,
of change
and
actually
trying to
comes from
memorize the whole
desire
thing
to
word
change.
for word can be
The
tough.
why
Yeah.
behind
The
it,
trick
and only
is to
20%
identify
comes
the
from the
keywords
how-to.
within the
So
quote.
understanding your
Okay.
They
motivations
act like
for wanting
anchors
to
for
improve
recalling
your
the
memory,
broader meaning.
that's
So
crucial.
for that success
Why is
quote,
important to
some
you?
keywords
What are you
might
hoping
be
to
laugh,
achieve?
respect,
Once you've got that clear,
affection,
you're much more likely to stick with it.
betrayal,
That makes total sense.
beauty,
If
best,
you're not
better,
truly invested,
easier.
the
So you're not
techniques
trying to
probably
remember the
aren't
whole
gonna have
sentence, you're just
much
focusing on
staying
those
power.
core concepts.
Exactly.
And it's not just
those
about
keywords
like,
trigger
those
the rest of the
self-assessments
quote in your
either,
mind.
you know.
Got it.
Sometimes
And this is all
these
part of
negative beliefs
association,
are actually
right?
imposed
It is.
on us by
Association is
others.
all about
Yeah, I can
creating
see
a
that.
relationship
Like maybe a
between
teacher
something you
telling
already
you
know
you have a weak
and something
memory
new
when you were a
want to
kid.
learn.
Those things can stick with
So
you.
with
Yeah.
names,
It's so
it's
important
about
to
linking a
question those
face, which you can
pronouncements
hopefully
to ask
remember,
yourself,
with a name.
is this
which
belief
is the new information?
actually true?
And there were a couple of
I love
methods
that.
for
You know,
doing that.
we often
One was
carry these
linking by
labels around
comparison.
without
Okay.
ever really
So let's say you
examining
meet someone
if
named
they're even
Ahmed.
accurate.
Exactly.
And once
you
you
might
start
try to
challenging
link
those
them to
beliefs,
another
it can
Ahmed you already
unlock
know,
so much
maybe a
potential
famous
energy
person
and
like
open up
Ahmed
possibilities
Shawki.
you never even considered.
Create a mental
So,
comparison, like think about their
how
features,
can we start to
or maybe
shift those negative
recall
beliefs?
a
What's the
poem by
practical
Ahmed
takeaway here?
Shawki.
So you're basically
The key is to
finding an
consciously
existing
affirm and
anchor in your
embody
memory and
new,
attaching the
more
new information
positive
to it.
beliefs
Exactly.
about your memory and your
Another
focus
method
every
is
single day.
linking by
Make
location
them
of
part of your
meeting.
identity.
Hmm.
Tell yourself a
Oftentimes, the
different
place where
story.
you first meet
Okay,
someone
so
is
give
pretty
us
vivid
some
in your
examples
memory,
of
right?
some powerful beliefs
You
that
can
we
use
could
a
start
specific detail
adopting.
from that
Sure.
location to help you remember
One that
their
really
name.
stood out to me
Okay.
was this idea
So,
of
let's
I was
say you
born
meet a
with
woman
an
named
extraordinary
Rose,
ability
and
to
there's
focus.
a white rose on
Oh,
the
I like
table
that.
nearby.
Notice how it frames
When you
focus
recall
as
that
a
meeting,
skill, not
the
a
image
talent,
of the
you know?
rose might
It takes the
trigger
pressure
the
off,
name
feeling like
Rose.
you either have it or you
good one.
don't.
Yeah,
Our
it's about
brains are good at
developing that
remembering
skill, not
places.
assuming
They
you're
are.
just wired
And you
a
can
certain
use
way.
this visual
Right.
linking technique
Another
for
powerful
written
one is,
information too.
my memory
Instead
is
of just
limitless.
passively reading and rereading.
This one encourages a
Try to
real
create a
shift
mental
in your
image
thinking
or a
about
short,
your brain's
vivid story
capacity
that
store
connects the
information.
keywords or concepts.
Think about
Like
it.
the example
you
of using a
effortlessly
tree to
recall
remember
countless
concepts.
details
Exactly.
and conversations. Names,
Imagine a tree,
faces,
something that's
events.
already
True.
firmly
That level of
planted in your
recall is
long-term
incredibly
memory.
complex. It rivals
The
the most
roots are laughing,
sophisticated computer
intelligent
systems out
people
there.
are sitting
It's a good
under the
analogy because when you
branches.
put it like that,
Children
it
are
really
hugging the
does
trunk.
highlight how much our
Pictures
brains
and
are
notes
capable
representing
of.
other
Right.
ideas are
And then
hanging
there's the
from
belief
branches.
that
I like it.
there
By
are no
linking the
failures,
information
only
to this
results.
familiar image,
This
recall
one
becomes
becomes so
much
powerful
easier
because it
and
helps
more
you
engaging.
reframe
It's
the
like a mental
setbacks.
mind map.
Yeah.
anchored
Instead
to
of getting
something you already
discouraged,
know.
you see them as
Precisely.
learning opportunities.
Your sources
You
also talk
analyze
about the
what
role of
happened and you
memory
adjust
in
your approach.
presentations.
It's
Yeah,
all
and the
about
point there was that
cultivating
the
that
presenter's
growth
memory
mindset.
actually has a direct
And finally
impact
embracing the
on the
belief
audience's
that
ability to
no one
remember the
knows
information.
everything.
Right.
If you're constantly reading
This
from
one keeps
notes
you
or
curious and
struggling to
open to
recall
different
your
perspectives,
content,
right?
Absolutely.
it undermines your
It
credibility
fosters a sense
and
of
makes it harder
continuous
for people to
learning.
follow
So
It
it seems like step one
The
here
goal
is
of a
really about
presentation
getting your
isn't
mental
just
house
to
in
deliver
order,
information,
challenging
it's
those
to help
limiting
the audience
beliefs,
understand
and setting a
remember it.
positive foundation
So
for
using
yourself.
memory techniques
I
to
love it.
memorize the
Okay, so
content
we've tackled
can really
beliefs.
make a difference.
Now,
Like
what
the journey
about
method
actually
or the
focusing
PEG
our
system.
attention
Exactly.
in the present?
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah,
creating
that's another
strong mental
critical
imagery
piece of
for
the puzzle.
key points.
Tough
It
these
frees
days
you
with
up
so many
to connect with the
distractions all
audience
around us.
more.
It really is like
And
our
don't
minds are
forget
constantly
about
racing,
engaging
jumping from one thing
openings.
to the next.
Exactly.
You know,
but like
use a
memory,
question, an
focus
interesting
is a
fact,
skill.
quote,
Yeah. It requires
Something to
training
grab their
and
attention.
conscious effort, and then
To
be
repeat
truly
key points
present
throughout.
in the current moment.
Okay, it does.
Put yourself in their shoes
and one of the
think
sources
about
actually
what will help
discussed
them
several
remember.
strategies to help us
Great
enhance
advice.
our focus.
Okay, one last thing I want to touch
One
on.
of the first ones that caught
Those
my eye
moments
was
when you have a forgetful
controlling your
moment.
inner
Oh,
voice.
tell me about it.
Like
You know,
when
that
you can't
constant
remember where you
internal
parked your
dialogue
car or
that's
where you
always
put your
running in the
keys.
background.
Oh my
It's the
gosh.
worst.
Yes,
I know.
that running commentary
But
that
it's often
never
not a
shuts
sign
up.
of
I
a
know.
failing memory.
It can have a huge
Really?
impact
Yeah,
on
it's
our
more about
concentration.
routine
really
and lack
can.
of
But the
attention.
good news
When we
is
do things
we
out of
can learn
habit,
to manage it.
we're not
Okay.
really present. It's like we're on
It's
autopilot.
about becoming
I can definitely
aware of
relate
that
to that.
voice
So the
and
solution
making a
is to bring
conscious
conscious
choice
awareness
to offer
back to
ourselves
those
some
actions.
guidance. Okay, how do we do that? Instead of
So next
like,
time you put your
negative
keys
or
down,
distracting thoughts.
So
Make a
instead of
point
listening
of
to the
noticing
voices
where
that are
you're putting
replaying that argument you had
Ask
or
yourself,
that to-do list that's stressing
when
you.
will I need them
Exactly. You
next?
got to recognize that those thoughts aren't facts; they're just thoughts, and we
Verbally
have
say
the
it
power
out
to
loud.
change them.
So it's about
Or
becoming the
visualize
editor
them
of
in
our
that
own
spot.
internal monologue.
Some people find it helpful
Yes.
to do something
Love it.
slightly
Another
different.
strategy
Okay.
that came up
Like
was
put them in a
avoiding
different pocket or hang them
multitasking.
on a different hook.
So break the routine.
Oh, that's a tough
Exactly.
one.
Isn't
Be
it?
more
I'm
mindful
so
in the
guilty
moment.
of that.